Hey, good morning. Welcome back to the shop right here in beautiful downtown Central Florida. You are in the briar patch with me this morning. We're going to start a new project. Last week I turned this piece. It's a piece of camphor, and we're going to do some more today on the same log, I guess you'd call it. It's more like a limb than it is a log. This was turned a long way on the lathe. I used to call it in-grain turning, but Mr. Al Furtado kind of changed my way of thinking. This is no more than spindle turning. Once you get inside here and you're working on this wall, it's the same thing as spindle turning. But today we're going to take the other piece of this, excuse me, and we're going to cut it laterally through here and turn it in a different direction. So without any further interruptions, let's get started on that. Meet you over at the bandsaw. This piece of camphor is right at 4 inches one way and maybe just a little bit the other, above 4 inches. It's going to be difficult for me to run this through the bandsaw and split it down the center. My bandsaw is a Rikon 10-inch, and the maximum depth on it is 4 inches. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to just skim off this edge here and get rid of this knot, so that it's a little bit more narrow this way than it is this way. Won't go at all through here, so it may go this way, but we're going to have to get this knot off of here in order to do it. So we're going to turn it up on its edge and try to go through and knock that little corner off. Hopefully one day I'll get a bigger bandsaw. This Rikon 10-inch is good for what it's for. Maybe, you know, a small shop or a hobbyist. But hopefully one day I'll get a Laguna SUV. That's my dream bandsaw. So let's see if we can get this knot cut off of here. Okay, we're going to turn on the dust collector. There's going to be a lot of background noise, so I'm not going to try to talk through this. Hopefully I've got the camera in frame. Okay, this whole video may be taken up with just trying to show how I'm going to run this through the bandsaw. We were barely able to clear the guide, or the guard, main guide. See, I don't know if we could see if we can get just a little bit more off of here, maybe even get a flat. One issue is we're putting it through in this direction. It's wanting to roll. I need a sled actually to mount this on that would run in the miter slot, and where I could lock it down and make it a little more safe. But anyway, let's try that and see what we can do. We'll turn the dust collector back on. Well, we were very close to getting all the way through it. However, we had this knot up here hit the guard and the guide, and again we were not able to make it all the way through this. Let's try knocking some of this off. We're going to try knocking some of this off and then get our blade back in the slot where we were at and continue. I need to get my dust collection system on remote control. going to have to get a wedge put back here to open this up so I can get the blade in it. When I get that wedge in there, I'll be back. Okay, got a screwdriver in there and opened it up where I could find my slot. We got the blade back in there, and I don't like this a whole lot. This might be one of those things we're going to have to edit later on. I'm going to try to start this blade. Hopefully it won't catch. If it does, you won't see it because I'm going to edit it. I'm not going to turn on the dust collection right now. I only have a 1/4 inch to go. So far so good. Okay. We finally got through that, and now we want to see, actually I'm half tempted to put my worm screw in here and see how it turns out turning it as it is. Make a little deeper bowl. I had to take off quite a bit in order, if I was going to run it through here, to get it through. Well, let's see. That's about the center right there. Well, let me think about this. Things have changed a little bit. Let me give this some thought and I'll be back. Well, after quite a bit of wrangling, we finally got our piece through the bandsaw, and I drilled a hole for the worm screw and got it mounted on the chuck, and we're ready to start turning it. We're going to get this side flattened off a little bit and start forming the bottom of the bowl, and we're going to put we're not going to use a tenon, we're going to use a recess here to grab it, reverse it in the chuck, try to save some material, because the recess will actually be incorporated as part of the bottom. So let's do that. A little bit more on the blade, just look at that. Raise that rest just a little bit. That's about right. Get our speed up as high as we can. Vibrating a little bit because it's off balance. Okay, let's see if we can get set up to cut our socket in here. I'll be back as soon as I get our bit and everything set up. Okay, here we're set up with a 2-inch Forstner bit, which is about the size that we need to fit our jaws on our chuck. And we're going to go in here. We're going to have to go a little bit deeper than I intended, maybe 1/4 of an inch. Apparently I was off center with my screw chuck just a little bit, so this side's a little bit thinner. So we'll go in and form a little recess here. We're turning about 500 RPM with a 2-inch Forstner bit. Okay, we'll come in here with a square-nosed carbide tool from Easy Wood Tools and take this down in here just a little bit so we can get rid of that divot in the center that's caused by the Forstner bit. As soon as we get set up for that, we'll be back. We're back and we're ready to work on this bottom in here. We're going to take it down a little bit to get rid of that divot. Normally on a larger piece, I would form a slight dovetail on the edge of our recess, but smaller pieces like this doesn't require as much holding power as a larger piece, so we're just going to use a square carbide tool to come in here and take some of this down till we get rid of that divot. I want it to go, but that'll be all right. Okay, we've moved our rest around. We're going to start forming the bottom of it. We're just going to come up here and sweep across here until we get a nice profile. Then we'll finish the bottom, reverse it, and hollow out the inside. Well, we're good on 3/4 of it. We have a lip for it to sit on, but as you can see here, we're getting off into the edge, into the bark area. Not sure if I face off some more of this. I need to get in here to get a flat spot. I got way off on our center. Well, let me get off camera and figure this out, and we'll be back. Okay, let's continue shaping around the edge here. I want to keep as much of this bark as I can. By the time I get it round though, there's probably not going to be much left. And I've definitely got to come down here and work on this bottom and try to get it where I have something here for this to sit on. It's going to be very thin. Let's just work on it a little bit and see what happens. I'm not going to be able to talk very much. I got my face shield on, so we'll just go with the silent treatment. How's that? Okay, obviously by the time I work this down enough to get rid of this flat spot here and here, I'm not going to have much bark left. That's just the way it is. And really wanted to keep that. You can see here this is almost gone. Yeah, I think it will be gone by the time this is rounded off. May have a little bit left here, not much. Now let's continue and see what happens. Fantastic. We got rid of the flat spots here and over here, and we've managed to maintain quite a bit of the bark. Let's move around to the bottom and work on this a little bit and see if we can get a flat spot for this to sit on. Okay, get my cuts set deep, but I'm out here sit bottom. I'll work. We're gonna go with that. We have about 1/4 of an inch right here. We're going to definitely have to cut that a little bit deeper. We don't have enough there to grab onto our chuck. So let's get our square point, our square tool, and work on that just a little bit. Square this face up a little bit. We'll use a sanding board toward the end to make sure that's nice and flat. I think that's deep enough, and it's nice and flat in there. A little bit deep in the center. Let's square that up a little bit. A little bit more. Camphor has a very strong odor, and it's killing my sinuses. That's good. Okay. Alright. Let's do some sanding on this. I'm going to do that off camera. Watching somebody sand is akin to watching paint dry. So we'll sand this off camera, and we get it done, we'll be back. Well, this project has certainly had its challenges. I started sanding this, started having problems with some of the bark trying to come loose, so I had to take some thin CA glue and try to stabilize it, trying to keep it on there. We've sanded this down to 400, and now we're going to go ahead and put some finish on it before we reverse it. We're going to use some Danish oil. Watco Danish oil is what we're going to put on here, and see if that'll help bring the grain out. This wood is kind of light in color and doesn't seem to have much character except the odor. That will knock you out. I'm hoping this oil will help to bring out some of the grain. And in the interest of trying to keep this video short, I think we're going to break this up into 2 parts, and we'll continue with part 2 when we get this reversed and start to hollow out the inside. So we'll continue putting on Danish oil and rubbing this in, and we'll start part 2 when we get it reversed.